I mean, it's.
Hopefully, it's not going to be scary.
Oh my gosh, that could never be the case. Okay, Bryan, you can put these on. You'll be able to hear us through those. Look at that. It looks pretty good. Noah, you're a little square.
It's the other way.
Directionally challenged, yes.
Aren't we all?
Okay, guys, what a true honor. Here we are on Super Bowl 56 Radio Row, Starcade Media, and we are with our good friend, Bryan Cooper has joined us. Guys, we've had all these, lots of former athletes, lots of different kinds of guests here since we've been at Radio Row. Bryan Cooper, this might be the moment to me that really is going to stand out the most when it's all said and done. We've had you on our podcast before.
That is so sad if that's the case.
Look at you, Mom. This is great. We've had you on our show before, like just a call in, and now we're meeting you in person in LA. This is pretty cool.
I'm much better in person.
Oh, the best.
I'm so much more lifelike.
For those that don't know, Bryan, of course, you've lived in LA most of your life. Acted on the show Saved by the Bell, which is our favorite show of all time. I know it's
as it should be.
Somehow it's not yours. You got to go back and just watch the show. I know that sounds like torture to you.
It does. Yeah. Do not make me watch the show.
Why is that? I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to get into this kind of a therapy session. Why is it so
I played
torturous?
a nerd on the show. I don't want to revisit that.
People love that character.
I'm obviously a leading man.
I mean, if you played like a serial killer,
in real life, I'm a serial killer.
It's LA. No one ever notices.
I've seen you on posters. They've been looking for you.
I know where all the bodies are buried. No, it's weird to watch it again. I don't know why. I did watch the beach episode recently because a friend of mine wanted to see it, and it was hard. It was the first one that I watched that I'd done, so I had a lot of memories of that because it was exciting to not be just a background actor, but to actually have a part. And I didn't know at the time that it was going to lead to me having a recurring role, but it was really an exciting.
Or being on Radio Row at Super Bowl 56.
That I could have never.
I mean, look around. This is crazy. We have had from musicians to actors, Super Bowl champions, Pro Football Hall of Famers. They're all making the rounds here, and now you are here and a part of that.
From Saved by the Bell. So
we've left this table.
Someone is walking by and pointing right now, and they're just like, "That guy, I know exactly who that is." But you're not a nerd in real life, which lends your acting chops obviously are top notch because you pulled it off so well. And the episode you're talking about is probably Big Pete's debut, the volleyball game. Everybody remembers that.
Yeah, the game is what's called.
They tried out. I think Hilga, she was on the U.S. team, but in the 1920s. Then it was a 12-year-old girl that was.
I think Ida.
Oh my God! See, you do watch the show.
Well, I just watched that one.
And Big Pete Stonebreaker is the choice.
I know. What a name, right?
A beautiful name. The best nerd name on the show.
Crazy name. And when I showed up we were on location in Santa Monica at the beach club, and I showed up, and they all knew me as just regular background extra guy. And I showed up, and I was like, guess what? I'm Big Pete. The producers didn't even really know because the casting director gave me the part right after the audition because they were like running out of time, and she just basically said, I'm giving you the part. Usually you have to read to the producers, and she's like, oh, they know you, it'll be fine. And then all of a sudden I have this part with the dressing room and the full regalia, and it was very exciting, and people were talking to me differently and treating me differently, but I knew everybody else, but I was it was a different vibe.
Yeah, we've had Sylvester Solomon on the show, his real life name Brian Holohan, and we're talking about Franklin Finkley, your buddy, Michael Warwick, real name. Just kind of talk about some of the characters on the show that played the nerds or the extras on the show, and just kind of your relationship behind the scenes.
I mean, we were all a pretty close group, and we looked out for each other, and we were always excited when somebody got an under 5, which is meaning you got under 5 lines. But you got a bump in pay, so they'd show up on the set with this contract, and signing in, and you knew you were going to get residuals. So, the goal was always, you want to get an under 5, because you're going to make more money. And then hopefully get featured. I remember Scott Wolf came on the show at one point,
Yes.
and everybody was in Terry Spelling.
Yes, Tori Spelling.
Yes.
Sorry.
Who could
I
forget?
remember
Violet
when
M.
she was on the
Bickerstaff.
show, and she was really cool. And we had a lot of another friend of mine. I better actually remember names. It's gonna be really hard. But anyway, all the extras were really a tight group, and we had a lot of fun. And it was a summer job for most of us because I was in college. So you have to understand, like, I was already done with high school, but all of us were in college because that way they didn't have to have us on the set with teachers and being taught. We were over 18, so they could work us to death, basically.
Is that something you bragged about when you were in college? Hey, I'm going to be on Sick of the Bell.
I barely talked about it. It was a summer job, and I wanted to get my AFTRA card, which I did, and then I got my SAG card. So it was an entryway. It was a starter gig. It was very, very fun, and at the time, I had no idea that I'd be talking about it all these years later.
Do you think that there's something that's a part of the creative process that maybe lends itself to sort of distancing yourself from your work? I mean, we've heard that Mark Paul Gosselaar, who just did a Saved by the Bell podcast, but for years he had distanced himself from it. I've never seen it. I don't remember. Is that like almost? Is there like
I think he had to rewatch some of the shows.
Sure.
Podcasts
Yeah.
He was talking about.
Is there kind of a defense mechanism built in that just kind of that automatic that makes you want to distance yourself from your work?
Well, think of it like this, guys. Like, I don't know what your experience was in high school. You had a positive or a negative experience in high school?
We went to high school together.
You did? Okay, so
Yeah. It was
obviously,
a little in between, I guess.
Yeah, it was fine.
Ups and downs.
and then so it's almost like it's like your second high school. It's like you had your real high school, and then you had this fake high school that you went to. And I have like very distinct memories of both, but there, it's an emotional time. You're going through all these changes in your body. You're trying to figure stuff out, and so a lot of people don't really like to talk about high school.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it just feels like another time because I'm not acting anymore, and I'm not thinking about that career. So it feels far removed from my reality today. But again, it was a great experience. I'm glad that I was a part of an iconic show.
And just kind of breaking away from Saved by the Bell, we'll get back to it. Don't worry, everybody. But you work at Shed Media, and you do some great work there on a lot of different shows. If you could tell people about some of the shows that they're probably watching on TV right now and not realize you have a part of it.
I'd love to. So Shed Media is a division of Warner Horizon, based on Warner Brothers. We're an independent, non-scripted television production company. Working there since like 2008 or 9. And I am a clearance supervisor, so I do licensing and clearance, all the clips, all the stills, the music, locations, people, materials, trademarks, brand names, logos, everything that goes into permissions so that it can get on the show and on air. And I'm kind of the conduit between legal and production, because production wants everything, and legal puts the kibosh on a lot of stuff. And so I'm kind of like the go-between and flagging stuff and figuring out, can we show this person? Do we have to blur them? Can we show this trademark? Anyway, so right now I'm working on Legally Mathis, which is a new reality show with Judge Mathis and his family. We're also doing another season of Who Do You Think You Are for NBC, which is a genealogy show that's been on for years. We've got 6 new episodes coming up. We started before the pandemic, and we're finally finishing them. It's really tough. We got shut down. And as I was telling Noah, we do the Bradshaw Bunch on E! We do Real Housewives of New York. We do a lot of Real Housewives. We do Fast Foodies on True TV, which is a really fun celebrity cooking show. We're doing a new show called 101 Places with Adam Pally and John Gabris, which is 101 Places to See Before You Die. There's an F word in there, but I wasn't saying it. It's a wacky travel show. And so anyway, we've been around forever. We did Super Nanny. We did Basketball Wives. I mean, you name it. Any whacked out reality show.
Well, I this is so fortuitous that we happen to talk to you about this, and those that are watching, I know that you tuned in to hear us talk about copyright and permissions.
Yeah.
But as two,
We got a treat for you.
We have just a treat for you because Bryan, I don't know if Noah's ever mentioned it, but we're finishing up work on our third documentary, which is called Saturday Supremacy, which is a trip around the SEC football. And our main problem that we've run into since then is, in fact, copyright and permissions. So you're hired. You now work for us.
Great. I don't think you can afford me, to be honest.
We've
You're right.
reached out to several other people about this, and you're right. We cannot afford.
Yeah. I'm expensive. I've been doing it for 20 years.
It is
but
unbelievable how
It's
much
embarrassing.
goes into that.
People don't
People
think
don't
about
realize.
that.
We
Watch
didn't
the show.
realize.
I mean, every trademark in this room, would have to be cleared. Everything is copywritten. Everybody owns something. Everybody owns a piece of it, and they all want remuneration if it's being used. So it's a complicated thing, and it's gotten even tougher as the years have gone on. We can't even. A lot of times we can't show license plates or addresses or all kinds of weird stuff that you wouldn't really think would be an issue. But that's the kind of stuff that I flag. I look through each episode. I do my little notes.
Wow.
And hopefully we don't get sued.
Yes, exactly. So you can keep your job.
Right. No claims. That's what we don't want.
That's what Clinton are struggling with now, not getting sued. So
Right.
we continue on that path. Unfortunately, we can't afford you. But, I mean, we share a love for the classics, Brian. I just kind of want to ask you some of your favorites that you've done, that you've worked on, or just seen growing up. That there's just your favorites that you love. They're kind of your go-tos.
Like, you mean classic film? Or what are we
Film,
talking
yeah,
about?
absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to be.
Or television shows.
Classic.
Dick
TV
Van
shows.
Dyke for me is a big one.
That's a big one for you. Okay. I'm a huge Mary Tyler Moore fan.
Yes.
Love that show.
Mm.
I'm definitely. So I watch. I mean, as we were talking on the way over here, I was on a show called Sisters, which was on NBC, and I had a recurring role on that. Played Lester, and so that was really fun because I got to work with Susie Kurtz.
Hey, there
and,
he is.
She had a TV show called Good Morning Winnetka, and a woman named Nora Dunn, who was on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, yeah.
Played
Absolutely.
my aunt, I want to say, and I was her nephew, and I was playing a PA, which is really a production assistant.
Yes.
Anyway, so I have really fond memories of that because we actually shot that at Warner Brothers on a
Oh, yeah.
soundstage. So I've since been back since I worked for Warner Brothers. So it's always nostalgic for me to be on that lot. And I have really positive memories of that show. So I don't know, but I love old movies, and as I told you, I've worked on a lot of DVD bonus material and stuff for Tyrone Power, Laurel and Hardy, MGM musicals, all kind of crazy stuff. Just really fun.
Is it? Back to the copyright again. When you do something, I know.
Get off the
That's why we.
topic.
He's not
Well,
like that.
The question I have is when you're doing special features and you're going back and redoing things that have already been done that's already cleared copyright. You've got a film, it's owned by a company. You're going back and doing it. Does it like the process start all over again? Like,
No, it doesn't because I'm producing the bonus material for the company that owns the property. So
you're
what
good.
you have to also understand is movies that were made before 1960, they don't owe residuals to the actors or anybody. So a lot of these movies were made in the 30s, 40s, 50s. So copyright changed in the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's how we know, reruns and how everybody gets residual payments now. If you hear people who are talking who worked back in the day, they don't make any money off of those shows anymore because that process was not in place yet. So now, whenever something's rerun, hopefully one of my shows, I get a small check. I still get residuals from Saved by the
I love
It's-
that.
it's
which is
amazing.
crazy. I mean, I'm doing my taxes this weekend, and I'm amazed at how much I made this year on Saved by the Bell. And if I had known that there was going to be all these other things like streaming and internet and all these other different platforms, I would have had that put into my content.
Yeah, exactly.
I would have made more money.
You need to go back in a time machine and do that, and we need to go back in a time machine before 1960 to figure out this licensing and copyright issue.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Wow. Well, I mean, we're here at Super Bowl Radio Row. Brian, I don't know if you're a sports fan at all. You got the Super Bowl's here in town. That's a no.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl's here for the first time, I think, since usually I'm good on this stuff.
Been a long
'93, I think and that was the Michael Jackson one where he just literally stood in the at halftime. He's like frozen in the middle for like 2 straight minutes, and that's like $70
let the
million.
crowd anticipate and go crazy.
That was at the Rose Bowl, I think. So
Wow.
SoFi Stadium, brand new stadium. It's open. Fans are going to be there 70,000 plus. Like, is LA a place where there's just so much going on that this doesn't move the needle, or like the Super Bowl is here and there is some buzz?
I'm
about
sure
it?
somebody's needle is moved. Mine is stationary.
So is mine because I'm a Chiefs fan.
I'm excited about the Super Bowl being here. I'm stoked for the Rams. not a huge sports fan, but I have a lot of friends. And normally, if we weren't dealing with COVID, I would go to a Super Bowl party because I did that every year. And that was probably the one time when I would go and actually watch the whole game. And my friends would be throwing bets out as to like, is it going to be a phone commercial or a car commercial next? We always were throwing money out and eating a lot of crap food. And
That's what it's all about.
So I'm going to be sad that I'm not doing that this year because we're just not quite there yet. But hopefully next year. And I'm excited for the Rams. I mean, they've been working hard. They're trying to get the LA back on the map.
Can we retroactively go back and insert Big Pete as like Slater takes him under his wing and joins the football team? Because that just popped in my head.
I mean, I'm
What a
probably
show
going to
that-
need to work out a little bit and pump it up. But yeah,
Oh, it would have been perfect.
I can't come close to Mario Lopez's muscle. But sure.
I mean, you did pull your hamstring doing
doing swamp.
Yeah, doing Swamp Pond. So yeah, that
I mean,
football
I'm
may not have been
still
for Big
a little
Pete.
torn, to be honest. I know it's been a few years. It's still a little achy.
From the graduation episode, Noah's going to show that. We may be able to. You brought that to us. That is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it's got my notes.
But
in it.
what I was noticing is just reading it, and this is you might look at some of Big Pete's lines like, oh, this is silly. This is a Saturday morning show, and it's there's some comedy, and it's just kind of silly. But to think about what even you had to do in those few lines you had to bring that off the page and into reality is something that's actually, I think, underrated. One of your lines is something like, oh, it hurts, call mom. That's all it says.
Yeah.
There's no, he grabs his hamstring and limps away, and he has this inflection. You got to bring that to life, and that is, I think, a true art.
That's all a tribute to USC School of Drama, John Blankenship, wherever you are. He's passed on, one of my drama teachers. I mean, I know how to whine.
Yeah. There's a specific set of skills.
Yeah, you should have the line down by now for sure. But,
and nobody told me to do that. I just was like, you know what? I got to do something with this character because we got to bring him to life. So I had to really think hard about like, what's his background? What's his motivation? What's going on with this guy? Why is he a nerd? And
why was he not a nerd and now is?
Why was he not a nerd before? And now all of a sudden you put glasses on him and voila.
I mean, everyone wants to fit in, right? There was a big group of population of nerds. You got to go somewhere. You're either a jock or with Kelly and them, or you're a nerd, I guess. Like you got to fit in.
A lot of
Screech got in with them. Why couldn't Bryan?
I know.
I think you did. That's the things. You helped Zach graduate. You gave him your Swan Pond spot. I think they gave you a letter jacket or something for that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that was the most hideous outfit I had to wear. It was like pink sweats or something.
Yeah.
And I remember my family was in the audience, and I was just mortified that I had to wear it. And I've always been a thin guy. I haven't gained that much weight since then. And it certainly accentuated the fact that I was light. And I remember when I did that line in the Max, and we sort of pirouetted out, I could hear my friend Patrick laughing in the audience. And that was so validating to me because he was in a sketch comedy group with me. And I made my friend laugh. And I was like, okay, I guess I pulled it off. Because it was really cool to have a part, be able to have friends and family in the audience come out, take a bow at the end, have a credit, whatever. Because it was like my first real job, in the business. And when you're growing up and you want to be an actor, that's your dream is to, be on a sitcom or whatever. To see how that process works with the 3 cameras, I learned so much doing that, and I'm really grateful for the time that I had to kind of pick all that up. And Don Barnhart, the director, would come out and yell at us. And I remember he singled me out one time because I wasn't. He was putting us all in a row, and he wanted me to stand in one particular place. And he's like, stand right there. He's like, trust me, I'm gonna get you in the shot. And I think I know better because I'm Big Pete. And so I don't stand where he tells me to stand. And he comes busting out of the booth, and he's like, Bryan, I told you to stand right there, and I'm gonna. He just let me have it in front of everybody. And this is like a set full of people, and I think maybe we had an audience at the time. Probably we did. Anyway, I was mortified. So I never not take direction. I mean, I learned the hard way. And then, apologize. you learn as you're doing it.
She's
Sure.
like, I asked you nicely, and now I got to be this mean
Now I
guy.
got to be a dick about it because you're not listening to me.
But you'll learn. So before we get into the stuff that you're kind enough to bring and you're going to share with us, I got to ask you about the script that you're saying that some of the extras in the background kind of wrote about an episode where it was about recycling.
Yeah.
You all remember it. Jesse and Graham go home plastic foam.
Yeah.
So
we
tell us a little
thought
bit
we
about
had
that.
this brilliant idea about recycling, and so some of us got together and what happened to that script. But I do know it was a group of us. We wrote it, we typed it up, and in the same format. And I gave it to Elizabeth, and she was really sweet. You should read it, take the time to go through it. She thought it was great, and she said she'd pass it along. And it got to the producers, and the producers read it, and they came back and they were like, "It's really good, but we already had an idea like that. We've already got something in the works about that." And we were all kind of like, I wonder if they're either stealing that idea. No offense if they're
Or just being nice,
or just being nice. It's called show business. It's a business, And are you really gonna hire extras to write a script for you? And who knows? But it was fun for us. We wrote it. And we had a good time. And
Do you remember what the premise was, or how close it was? Like, what was was there protesting? Was there do you remember any
Signs
details?
being tainted.
I don't remember, guys. I'm sorry. I don't remember the gist of the script. I know it was brilliant.
Absolutely, and whatever it is,
was-
Peter Engel,
it
if you're
was
watching
gold. It was
this,
comedy gold.
of course, Peter Engel, if you're watching this, just give the man $50,000.
I mean,
just
Peter.
He gets enough
Make it
residuals,
right.
50,000. We could
I don't
ask
get that.
Bennett Tramer right now. I'm sure he would have a quid pro quo for that.
That would be really nice if they would do that. And the other thing, I just want to also mention because we lost Dustin last year,
Yes.
and I just want to say what a really sweet guy he was to me. Everybody had a different experience,
yeah.
with him, but he really took care of the nerds. He used to invite us into his dressing room, chatted up with him. He was young and silly and a little immature, but I thought he was a hoot, and I really enjoyed him. So I just want to say to everybody, friends, family, he's missed.
They have a great tribute on the new Saved by the Bell reboot. They did a tremendous tribute.
Yeah.
At the Max with the rest of the cast. It was really, really well done. And Peter Engel always, when we interviewed him, told us he was 11 years old when he came on the show, and he was just a comedic genius. He kept using that term, comedic genius. And Peter Engel said that cast never missed. And he included all you guys in that. So everyone on that show, nobody ever missed it, except for you, apparently, that one time.
Your one mark.
Your one mark you missed.
He did mention that. He said nobody ever missed except Brian on this one mark. Don had to come out of the
Thanks for
booth. There was
rubbing
this
it
whole
in,
thing.
guys. This is why I don't reveal secrets.
See,
Why I don't do these interviews.
The last interview with Bryan Cooper, everybody, it's right here on Starcade Media.
well, this is awesome. Like, it's almost kind of surreal because you come to LA and when you're from Kansas City and you don't really know what to expect. But when you're in a place like this and there's just so many different kinds of people, and yet like Tom Cruise could walk in, and I don't know that we'd have any more fun with him than we are with you, and I mean that. Like, this is so cool. Because what you did,
If Tom Cruise walks in, you guys better boot me really quick.
he did do the intro for the Chiefs-Bengals game, like they had a Top Gun tie-in,
Oh, nice.
and I'm like, I kind of blame him for the loss now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Although I am excited for Top Gun Maverick. I'm serious.
Whenever it comes out.
It's going to come out in May. It's happening.
I'm thrilled. I'm glued.
You're not. You're lying to us. You won't see Top Gun Maverick. 36 years in the making.
I'll check my schedule. I'll see if I have time. I'm very busy.
If you don't,
But his schedule right now shows that we need to see some of this
Oh, yeah.
memorabilia, these great
Yeah.
pictures.
And-
I'm sure your audience is nodded off by now.
And
But
guys-
anyway, I brought a
Since he's talking about Top Gun
photo. I don't know if they're going to be able to see that.
we're gonna.
Yeah.
If Brian will let us, we're
And
gonna
the
scan this and put it on
Yeah.
our social media.
And I sent this to Franco Barrio not that long ago, so he was back in touch, and he was thrilled to see it.
We think this was from the end of season 2,
no, I
1990
think season 4
or 3,
It's 1990.
1990,
So whatever. The show ended in 91, right?
92.
Okay, well, you guys
Or
know
3.
better than that. Anyway, I stayed on until the end. But anyway, then I also brought, this is my old headshot.
He's gonna sign these
before I had
for us,
my
guys.
nose rebooted. Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's my old nose. And
I'm like, well, now I see
and
it.
then so when we were on the set, they would do these costume test shots, Polaroids.
Those are just amazing.
And so I just found these in this box of memorabilia because I just moved and I get rid of stuff.
They're even labeled here, Big Pete
I
on
know.
the back.
And then, yeah, so here I am in the classroom.
There
And
are
then
several
here-
different nerd phrases. We need to make it that it was Big Pete.
It was
This was your big
Yeah, and then this is me and Sherry Campbell, who played one of the teachers in this.
If you're
So if
out there,
anybody
you've probably
knows-
seen us on some of the Saved by the Bell groups. Reveal
I'll
yourself.
scan these and I'll send
Yeah.
it to you in case somebody remembers. Anyway, I don't have a lot of memorabilia from the show. I have a sweatshirt somewhere, and I've got a box full of scripts, but I thought I would just share it with the audience.
Well,
because they're
Those are
loyal
amazing.
and they-
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you indulging us because you apparently have another super fan that lives in Italy that you have to placate here
Yes.
and there.
Me too. Yeah, and there's a little bit of a language barrier there, but he's great. And I have a super fan, Jesse, who's out here in LA, who I met at the Saved by the Max.
Oh, that's so
pop-up,
cool.
restaurant.
They didn't live in LA until
And-
that you guys became friends. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, little
I'm
do you
moving to
know.
LA. So I can hang out with Bryan.
Anyway, the few fans that I do keep in touch with are super cool, and I'm grateful for them. So, well, thanks for remembering.
We will
Always
always
and
remember, and we
forever.
always keep an eye out for projects you're working on, things you're doing today, because you're still so heavily involved, and just from a different role.
Behind the scenes.
And that's
Yeah.
equally as important, of course. And we'll always remember the fact that you did this, the fact that you came out, and we don't know a lot about traffic. We think we do in Kansas City. I mean,
it
all
sucks.
We get lost in Kansas City and now we're in Los Angeles. And we've
Yeah.
lived in Kansas City our
Yeah.
whole lives. So
You wouldn't last out here.
we'd
10
be eating a lot.
Yeah. Traffic is a bear. I gave myself extra time to get here. I know how to plan ahead.
He's a
But
pro with this.
yeah, but thank you guys for having me. It's really great to finally meet you. And
Yeah.
I've been in touch with you a long time.
This is cool.
It's
Absolute
really,
honor.
really nice to finally be here in person. So I feel privileged to be invited to the party. Thank you.
Well, from Super Bowl 56 Radio Row, it's Bryan Cooper. Thanks so much, and continued coverage, of course, here as we try to make it through our last day and a half here in Los Angeles and do it.
And you heard it from the sports nut here. He likes the Rams. So
There
go
it
put
is.
all your money on the Rams.
I can't walk out of here and not like the Ram and get beaten up on the street.
We're
Yeah.
driving to Vegas, all the three of us right now, to bet on
Place
it.
our bets.
We're going
Right.
4 hours.
Vegas, baby.
Thanks, Bryan.
See you there.
Thank you.
Oh, that was a blast, Bryan.
That was great. Thank you so much.